The Alesis DM10 has been out for quite a while now, and there are 7 versions of this drum set. In this video, I'm breaking down the differences between every single model. That's coming up. What's up? Justin here, welcome to 65 Drums, the place to keep on top of all things electronic drum related. There are so many versions of this drum set, I decided to take the time, look at the specs, break it down, and let you guys know what the differences are between each one of these drum sets. Because there are some pretty drastic changes between certain kits in this lineup. So let's start out at the very beginning, the first DM10 branded drum set from Alesis. This is the Alesis DM10 Pro. I remember when this drum set first came out. It was very striking, different from most of the other kits on the market at the time, and it was a lot of fun to play. Now, here are the dimensions. You had 8-inch high toms, a 10-inch floor tom, 10-inch snare, you had a 12-inch hi-hat, 13-inch crash, and a 16-inch ride cymbal. And I believe the kick drum was 8-inch. So the really striking thing about this drum set was, that was not a pun, that I did on purpose. The striking thing about this drum set was that you were using metal cymbals. These were made by a company called Smart Trigger. Smart Trigger is still around. You can still go buy their own custom branded cymbals. But Smart Trigger made cymbals for Pearl, their E-Classic cymbals, and they also made the surge cymbals for Alesis. Now, I remember the first time I played this cymbal, I was very surprised at how quiet it was. I had the same reaction later on when I played the Zildjian Gen 16 cymbals. But the way they make this quiet isn't by drilling a lot of holes into the cymbal. I recently came across the cymbal again at a used music store, and I turned it upside down and I realized there was a thin sheet of plastic underneath this cymbal, and that's how they got it to be so quiet. These are fun to play, but the problem was, these are still loud because they're made of metal. It doesn't matter what kind of dampening materials you put on that metal, it's still going to be a metal cymbal and it will still be loud. Also, they were using Mylar acoustic drum heads, so the combination of those drum heads with the metal cymbals was too loud for most drummers, and that's why Alesis came out with the next step in this line of DM10 drum sets, the Alesis DM10 Studio Kit. In a lot of ways, the Alesis DM10 Studio was a better kit. It had a 10-inch snare, and it had 4 8-inch toms. You had an 8-inch kick drum, 12-inch crash cymbal, 12-inch hi-hat, 14-inch ride cymbal. The great thing about this kit was that you had that extra tom and you had an extra cymbal. So for around the same price, you were getting more drums. And that's why a lot of people migrated to this drum set, and Alesis started selling a lot of units. So the next drum in this lineup was the Alesis DM10 X. This is basically where Alesis just keeps pushing the envelope, trying to make really large electronic drum sets for low prices. That's basically what Alesis is known for. Now, of course, there's going to be side effects and drawbacks for making large electronic drums for hardly any money. Corners will have to be cut. But this shocked a lot of people because this drum set had the 8-inch kick drum, but you had 2 10-inch high toms, 2 12-inch floor toms, a 12-inch snare, 12-inch hi-hats, 2 14-inch crash cymbals, and a 16-inch ride cymbal. That's pretty darn near close to the sizes of a Roland TD20, which was the competition at that time. You're getting about the same sizes, it doesn't look as pretty, it doesn't sound as pretty, but in the end, you're still getting a playing experience similar to the Roland drum set at a lower price, and that's why a lot of drummers ran for this drum set, even though there was reliability issues with the cymbals because Medeli made them. I'm not going to get into a rant on that right now. But that was the next step in this lineup, the Alesis DM10 X. So right after that, Alesis did some sort of deal with Roland, apparently, because they finally started using mesh heads on their drums. And the next step is the Alesis DM10 Mesh. I'm really happy that they switched to mesh drum heads because it's a lot quieter. It's cool to say, hey, I'm using Mylar acoustic drum heads and I'm using metal surge cymbals, you know, it's the complete package. I mean, on paper it sounds like the perfect drum set, but when you switch to mesh heads, you're going to get a much quieter drumming experience. And that's why you bought an electronic drum set in the first place, because it's quiet. So I'm glad they switched to mesh. And then right after that, they made the Alesis DM10 X Mesh. So same sizes, same dimensions as the Alesis DM10 Studio and the Alesis DM10 X, just with mesh heads instead of Mylar acoustic heads. Now, those older Alesis DM10 drum sets with the Mylar acoustic drum heads on them, they're still floating around on reverb.com and eBay and Craigslist and stuff. If you end up buying one of those, you can put mesh heads on them. I'll actually link a cool video in the description below that shows you exactly how to do that step by step. So that's 5 versions of this DM10 drum set. There were pretty drastic changes. You know, the cymbals got changed out, the drum heads got changed out, but it was still the same drum module, it was still the same drum pads. You know, mostly the same drum rack. Really big changes happened this year because they came out with 2 new DM10 branded drum sets. You got the Alesis DM10 MK2 Studio and the Alesis DM10 MK2 Pro kit. Let's take a look at this Studio kit first. By the way, MK2 stands for just Model 2, so this is the next evolution of the DM10 drum module. The dimensions are, you have a 10-inch snare, you have 2 8-inch high toms, you have a 10-inch floor tom, you got a 12-inch hi-hat, 14-inch ride cymbal, and then you have 2 12-inch crash cymbals. The drum module appears to be the exact same one as the Alesis Crimson Model 2. So this one has 671 sounds and 54 factory kits. Now, just as a point of reference, the original DM10 drum module had many more sounds and it had more kits, I believe. A more limited drum module, I can't say whether or not the sounds are better. I think they are, just from playing the Crimson Model 2 drum module. I think they're a tad better, but you are getting less sound options, so just wanted to let you know that. I don't really see this drum set as a step forward from the Alesis DM10 Studio Mesh, but that's just me. Now let's take a look at the Alesis DM10 MK2 Pro kit. So this is basically the drum set right beneath the Alesis Strike. This thing has the dimensions of the DM10 X drum set line. I've played the Alesis DM10 drum module many times. I know what it sounds like, and this new Model 2 version, it just sounds better. One of the main upgrades, I think, is the ability to insert samples via a thumb drive, and this can be done on the Studio version as well. I feel like they're just milking the Alesis DM10 name now because it's so prominent. They've sold so many units of this thing. I just feel like it's getting a little bit cluttered because we have 7 versions of this drum set. But if you were feeling a little bit confused, that's how it all runs down. The Alesis DM10 Pro is the original version. You had the Alesis DM10 Studio and DM10 X. Those were the steps right after the Pro version that dropped the metal cymbals but kept the acoustic drum heads. The DM10 Mesh and DM10 X Mesh, all they did was they dropped the acoustic drum heads and put mesh pads on it. Now, this year, 2017, the DM10 MK2 Studio kit and the DM10 MK2 Pro kit, those are actually new drum modules. So you're using a lot of the same dimensions, but the drum modules themselves have finally changed. How many of you own an Alesis DM10? If so, what model do you own, and do you like it? Would you have bought it again? Let me know down in the comments below. I'm interested to find out. Hope you guys have an awesome day, and I'll see you guys in a few.